The situation in Avdiivka is critical. Many people are saying it will be the next Bakhmut, a meat grinder, but a Russian victory at the end. In today's video, I will be giving you my analysis on Avdiivka and what I believe the future has to hold for this Ukrainian fortress. First, let's start off with the basics. Russia has captured a good amount of ground over here, and here around Avdiivka, all in the attempts to go into Avdiivka or this coke plant. However, this comes at a tremendous loss. Geolocated footage and images only, there is claimed to be over 150 destroyed Russian vehicles. That's anywhere from tanks, armored personnel carriers, BMPs, all that. The highest source from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, so take this with a grain of salt, is 8,000 Russians killed. I would say the likelihood is probably somewhere around 800 to 2,000 Russians have been killed during these couple weeks of intense fighting going on around Avdiivka. It is worth noting that these are not professional Russian troops. These are Storm Z groups and DNO separatists. So that is worth noting. However, my personal opinion is that Ukraine will be the victor in this battle of Avdiivka, and I'll tell you guys why. First off, the Russian plan was fraught with a lot of warnings, red flags. This is going to be a disastrous attack if you attack. We saw in the Ukrainian counteroffensive vehicles driving in open fields that are mined, and artillery and drones are just waiting for these vehicles to get out. Probably not the best idea. Russia did it anyway. Columns, up to 40 vehicles in one column, just driving through, trying to thunder run through to their positions, to what they wanted to capture. And this obviously caused an image to come out of, and this was over a week ago, 63 Russian vehicles just around this Tarragon that Russia just captured on the 19th. So 63 vehicles. This was a massive disaster. The initial assaults were massive disasters. That's one reason. I think Russia in the initial assaults has used a good percent of the amount of armored fighting vehicles and tanks that they needed to even enter Avdiivka. They've used a good percentage of it. Not saying they can't replace it. They definitely can replace it. However, it takes time to replace those type of vehicles. Even if you have them anywhere in your occupied area of Ukraine, Crimea, it takes time to send them to the front lines, okay? So, that's one thing. The number of losses are going to be super high. People keep comparing this to Bakhmut, and although I don't agree 100% this is like Bakhmut, it does have its similarities here and there. And Prigozhin himself claims that his PMC lost 20,000 soldiers killed trying to take Bakhmut. Avdiivka's not like Bakhmut. Avdiivka's like the Azovstal plant in Mariupol, just a city of it. There's tunnels everywhere. There's good defenses. There's literally, basically, I would call it underground, a whole entire underground city with Ukrainian forces everywhere, and not to mention a very strategic place that the Russians need in order to capture Avdiivka successfully is this coke plant, which is a hub for Ukrainian forces. Artillery shells can do nothing to them here. Air power, airplanes, helicopters, drones can do nothing to the Ukrainians here. They'll just hide underground, wait for the shelling, droning, bombing, whatever it is to stop, and once the attack comes, they'll come out. And it's not like the Ukrainians are only relying on soldiers. They are pounding the Russians with artillery and drones. This one Russian soldier claimed, a Russian soldier somewhere near the nets, that in Avdiivka, during the Avdiivka area, the shelling was non-stop all day, shelling and non-stop. When I was talking about tunnels, and this basically being a tunnel city, a literal city under Avdiivka, tunnels for the Ukrainian military, Russian vehicles, I'm not going to show you the video because there is a ton of violence in it. However, a Russian BMP was driving in their territory, going either to the gray zone or to attack Ukrainian positions with soldiers on it. Shell hits it, drone hits it, whatever it was, it caught on fire, a lot of dudes wounded, some burning. Stop, drop, roll, we all learned that. The Russians begin to roll on the grounds, the ones that could. because they weren't injured that bad. Okay, they were on fire, but they were rolling. Okay, however, somehow the Ukrainians just pop up out of the ground. There was these dug-in tunnels, these foxholes, but they were tunnels, and so shooting at them. The video ends without a precise victor, but this is a very big deal. In order for the Russians to have 100% control of any ground they take, they must make sure there are no tunnels there, no foxholes for Ukrainian soldiers to hide in. Also, the Ukrainians all letting the Russians get into positions to use very effective cluster munitions. There is a video, I'm not going to show it again because of the violence, and the Russian dude was cussing a lot, and I don't like showing that on my channel. I try my best never to show that on my channel, and I don't condone that type of language that he was using. However, the Russian soldiers landed. They said no Ukrainians were in the trench. They cleared the trench. Good. Cluster munition stalls. Within 3 seconds, one dude is wounded. Within 5 seconds, he is wounded. He's able to run, according to him, he's able to run by himself, and the other dude needs help. But they needed to evacuate those dudes. And the video was only like 11 seconds. And 2 Russians were wounded just like that. These cluster munitions are very dangerous. Another video, not going to show it again, and I apologize, but YouTube would just not condone these videos of a Russian APC driving, puts troops on the ground. The Ukrainians saw him. It was recorded by a Ukrainian drone. Didn't do anything. Once the Russian soldiers were there, cluster munitions, then they picked off as much of the armored fighting vehicles as they could before the armored fighting vehicles got to a point where the shells and drones could not get them. So that's one of the reasons. The whole tunnels and everything that will make this city just difficult to even think of actually capturing. Another reason is I don't think the Russians have the ability to do another Bakhmut. This one military professor said that 3 Bakhmuts, the war will end. 3 more Bakhmuts, okay? The Russians were using a PMC. The Russians also using Storm Group Z and DLL separatists. However, the Russians, I don't believe, have the manpower to actually have a fight where Avdiivka, I believe, at the very least, they would lose 15 to 30,000 men KIA trying to go in and fight house to house in Avdiivka with all these tunnels, okay? I don't believe they have the manpower over here. They obviously have the manpower, but currently, there are attacks coming throughout the front. The Ukrainian counteroffensive has stalled, but that does not mean it's over. The Russians are all attacking in several directions, and the Ukrainians are making pretty good gains and footholds around Kherson, pointing to a Ukrainian attack on Kherson where there is very low standard, low quality troops, quality soldiers. So the Russians, and they need to defend on that city. So the Russians, I don't believe, have the manpower yet to focus their attention on Avdiivka. If Russia really wants Avdiivka, I believe it will take months, even over a year, to take it. Again, I don't believe they will be able to take it. The Ukrainians, according to pro-Russian sources, have sent another 30,000 men into Avdiivka. Before the reports were around 8,000 men in Avdiivka, they were holding it off pretty well for 8,000 men. Why 30,000? To hold on to Avdiivka or to launch counterattacks? We've seen the Ukrainians already launch some counterattacks. Here, the 19th, and the Russians used to have control of these fields, and the Ukrainians did a counterattack. There's fighting reported here. So the Ukrainians have already done counterattacks, and most likely, you look at this map, it looks like you're about to be surrounded. So if the Ukrainians are smart, they will do counterattacks, okay? They will do counterattacks. They will try to push the Russians back from their positions. I'm not saying they're going to be successful, but they will try this, okay? I believe in the coming days, weeks, and even months, you will see Ukrainian counterattacks. I'm not, again, saying they're going to be successful. I'm just saying they, 9 times 10, will happen, okay? The counterattacks, okay? And it's way harder to take this ground than it is to lose it, okay? It's not that difficult for the Ukrainians to take this ground back, or at the very least, push it into a gray zone where the Russians cannot keep their forces here because of the constant artillery shelling and all that stuff, okay? So I believe there will be more Ukrainian counterattacks. Obviously, there will be more Russian attacks. But I do believe that the 30,000 men, if that is true, were sent to Avdiivka, are not only sent there to defend. I think they're also sent there to counterattack. Another big problem for the Russians, if they waste so many men on Avdiivka, it could cause for them being routed. Okay, this Donut City, pretty key. You don't want to lose it. I don't think they will lose it anytime soon. However, they spend some 40,000 men, dead or wounded. Remember, wounds take time to heal. In Avdiivka, and the Ukrainians do a massive counterattack. This could cause for the Russian lines to collapse completely all throughout here, and even cause for the Ukrainians to get to or enter Donetsk City. Do I believe this is going to happen anytime soon? No. But that is a possibility. The reasons of it being very difficult, the losses the Russians have already sustained, during the past couple weeks of their attacks, and the fact that the Battle of Avdiivka has been going on for a year and 7 months plus, obviously not at the intensity that we've seen lately, causes me to believe that the Ukrainians will hold on to Avdiivka. Avdiivka also is very strategically important. I do not think Ukraine is just going to let it go easily, and it will be tremendously hard for the Russians to capture Avdiivka. I don't believe the Russians are going to focus on Avdiivka. They have more important things, at least from my opinion. Kherson, the least defended area that the Russians have during this around southern Ukraine, is currently, everything looks like it's going to be attacked by Ukrainian offensive. That's more important than a city called Avdiivka. So I personally believe the Ukrainians are going to win this battle. I think this battle is going to be way longer than just a couple months. And I think that the Russians will end up being the losers in this battle, or they will just stop attacking and wait probably another 5 months to attack again, wait another 3 months. That's my personal opinion, and I believe there is a lot of evidence pointing into that direction. Obviously, the people that say Russia is going to take Avdiivka, there is evidence pointing in their direction as well. Obviously, war, no one can see to the future, so war, anything can happen during war. So this is not a fact, it's just my opinion that I wanted to put out on my YouTube channel. Again, guys, that's basically the end of it. Make sure you guys like this video. Comment your thoughts down below. I love to hear them. Subscribe. Join the Fact Army. I've seen a lot of media and a lot of people talking about this Ukraine war. And when I started my journey on to this, and I wanted to get news so I could report to you guys, there was a lot of biases. People pointing out all the great stuff the Ukrainians did and pointing out only the bad stuff the Russians did. All the great stuff the Russians did and only the bad stuff the Ukrainians did. There's a lot of that out there. And unfortunately, that's the majority of what you're going to be hearing if you're listening to or watching the mainstream media or other military bloggers. That's just an unfortunate thing that happens. So here at the Arden Report, we try our best to be unbiased. We give you the facts. If the Russians are winning, we're going to say the Russians are winning. If the Ukrainians are winning, we're going to say the Ukrainians are winning. If no one's winning, we're going to say no one's winning. So we try our best to be unbiased in this war, in this conflict, and other conflicts around the world. So make sure, subscribe if you want unbiased truth. We try our best. Again, this is a fog of war, so nothing is 100% fact, nothing is 100% clear, but we do try our best. We aim to be unbiased. So make sure, subscribe, join the Fact Army, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye.